Well, I was obviously given the script for the first kind of quarter of the film, and some rushes of the wheat field rushes, which are the Russell Crowe's hand, which is actually a stand-in, brushing through the wheat, and that was the grade. They knew that was going to be at the beginning of the film, so I had to conjure something up to bleed into that sequence or to cut into that sequence. So that was my guide, really. The inspiration was from the colour of the wheat, really. I mean, the wheat was so beautiful and it was just sparkling yellow, and it just seemed, because the Roman Empire had foundries throughout Britain and throughout Europe that were casting bronze, and the whole patination of the bronze kind of harked back through all the classic openings of Spartacus and Ben-Hur, and I just really wanted to give the film a really huge weight, and Ridley wanted to really kind of not quite the rank gong, but a really big, kind of opening to kind of introduce you to this film, and the bronze kind of seemed the way forward, really, in terms of colour and just the vibe that came off the metal. The pitch was basically, you begin from above and you're looking down onto this foreboding landscape, which is the Germania, dark, kind of medieval almost, and you see what appears to be troops kind of spread across the landscape. You pan down across this dark, foreboding landscape, and you reach and look right across the horizon and realise that it's not actually troops, it's the legend, which is the story of Gladiator, just a little history of the Roman Empire up until that point, and you move across the legend from that point on. The typography, which was set using letterpress, which is like the traditional way of, but we had all the type beautifully set. So the original artwork was, it's not actually a Roman font, because a lot of people just assume Roman fonts with a serif, but this is actually a clean font, and it works really well, and especially when you're casting it in bronze, you needed that kind of punch, but you needed some history in it, so that was quite difficult in itself, just achieving the right balance with the typography. We employed an old letterpress typesetter to do that in London, so they're quite a rare breed to have designed it. So it had some real quality kind of inputs through the way. I remember going to Air Studios when Ridley and Hans were starting to record all the orchestras there, and producing this maquette on the table, and we got the director's viewfinder out and chose the lens, and we were, Ridley was kind of like, yeah, this is great, this is the right way, and we'll do the snake rather than, initially I suggested doing a straight run, which, like the Star Wars, is a straight run, but made sense to kind of snake and weave. It was more interesting. We designed a paper maquette just to get the whole idea was based on depth of focus, really. So you waded through, and the focus distinguished the line of type naturally for the reader. On a TV screen, this is fairly small, but on a cinema, you've got the type, which is huge, and it kind of works. This was to be done on a Super Cyclops down in Shepperton, so it was a pre-recorded move, so the camera just repeated itself over and over. We could scatter dust, we could have blows to reveal the letters. It was a very complicated manoeuvre, one single shot which lasted about 2.5 minutes. The paper maquette was the guide, really, to make this thing out of bronze, and to make a bronze piece like that. We locked down the legend, the information, and got all the paragraphs working, and then had to make males and females. The male is made out of plaster, then they make the female out of wax, and then it's a relief that's made out of sand, and then they pour the bronze on, and then bang. We made it in 4 sections, and then that was it. That was how it was made. So that's probably the beginning of December 1999, just before the end of the millennium. There was no editing involved, just finding the great takes. And I remember Ridley came in to review it in London on Boxing Day, 1999, and the first word he said was an expletive beginning with F, which was just an exclamation of like, great, you know, which was really relaxing at the time, and it all looked good. It all looked good at the time. The production moved back to LA to start mixing the sound. Pietro, there was a bit of tidying up with the title sequence. Pietro, the editor, who was great on it, he, you know, started weaving it into the film, cutting it into the, you know, doing the cross dissolve into the hand, and then we started talking to Hans and Lisa Gerard to score it, which was a very simple. Well, it's the opening that opens the film now, and it was great. It just built to this crescendo. It's very moody, and it just bled into the grass, into the wheat perfectly. Well, the film was. They obviously hoped that it was going to have the success that it did, but on that side of the filmmaking process, a 2.5-hour film was got to come down, and this sequence was 2.5 minutes. And because it was a locked-off shot, there wasn't much that you could cut out of it to bring it down in time. Ridley kind of said, you know, in a future version it could feature, and I always kind of held that as a notion that maybe in a director's cut, you know, in 10 years down the line, it could come through, because the initial reactions from people were, you know, it was an epic opening, and you know, this is the finished print, which hopefully you'll all see, but it was there aren't. I think this is the only one finished from Mill Film. So I'm not bitter about it at all, because I did some really interesting things and projects after that with Ridley, which were great, on Hannibal and things. But yeah, it was very gutting. But whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that's what I got from it.